It's Shannon, sending positive vibrations and love. We are living in unprecedented times. I usually do not talk about political or economic issues. However, when the cost of living in Toronto, Ontario, Canada far exceeds the minimum wage, the carbon tax that is intended to save the environment is causing drastic inflation on the prices of goods and services. That is becoming one of the direct causes of more Torontonians running to food banks for help and even garbage bin diving. The cost of rent in Toronto is so high that people cannot afford to eat. They're resorting to tents, and more people are living in their cars. Amazingly, you don't see any protests or many Canadians complaining yet. Yet, what we do see is a mass exodus of Canadian citizens leaving Toronto, going to Europe, going to Mexico, going to the USA. If you can, right now, take this moment to like and subscribe to my video. Many families cannot afford back-to-school supplies, much less food, clothing, or basic necessities. Homelessness is on the rise. I mean, you can find tent towns in all downtown parks, and some even in High Park. Poverty, despair, failure, and increasing gap of wealth disparity is changing the landscape of Canada. Canada is becoming divided into two classes of people: the rich bourgeoisie, who can afford to own property, live comfortably, not worry about money, and the poor, the proletariat, that must work multiple jobs, not just one, and still cannot afford the cost of living in Toronto, and will not be approved for ownership, mortgages of property anytime soon, not within even my own lifetime. The middle class no longer exists in Canada. Even so, in spite of all these terrible downward trends, they are not indicators that all is lost. It takes true strength, courage, tenacity to see a different reality than the one that is presented to you. Most people cannot fathom a change or elevate their mindset to match a new vision of the world. It's a new dawn, a new day, a new life, a new reality. Is that not the definition of hope, optimism? There are real acts we can do to help change this. Firstly, contact your municipal member of parliament via email or phone call, voicemail. Ask that they do something about the increasing homelessness, poverty, food scarcity, unemployment rates, as well as the increasing minimum wage to match the cost of rent. What are they going to do about the increased cost of living, lowering the cost of housing, and reducing mortgage rates and gas prices? Housing should be accessible to everyone, mostly in this housing shortage and crisis in Canada. Mostly only luxury condos, townhouses, and houses are being built to accommodate the wealthy. It is not affordable for the common man. Next, what you can do. Secondly, contact your provincial government member of provincial parliament. In your riding, it's super easy to access this information through Google and query them as to what actions are they taking on your behalf to reduce the cost of living, raise the minimum wage, aid with augmented homelessness, aid with food scarcity, reduce mortgage rates, reduce the cost of gas. I have personally contacted my members of parliament. Thirdly, you can donate to your local community food banks. churches that run food banks and shelters, recreation centers, and community outreach programs. Donate blankets, sleeping bags, warm socks, feminine hygiene products, hats, gloves, jackets, winter boots, durable shoes, clothing, tents. If you donate to nonprofit charitable organizations such as Salvation Army and Goodwill, the pricing for the goods will be reasonable, much lower than Value Village, which is a for-profit organization. Fourthly, you can give directly to homeless people walking around any area in Toronto, downtown, midtown, west end, east end. You will see homeless people everywhere who panhandle for money, food, clothing. Even better, talk with them, communicate with them, ask them what they need. And if they have access to shelters, and if they don't know where a shelter is, you can quickly Google it on your phone and tell them where the closest one is. However, there's a real disparity in spaces in shelters. It's a dire situation in Toronto, where there are more homeless people than there are shelter spaces for them to sleep in. The current shelters cannot accommodate and are turning away homeless people nightly. So they're forced to sleep on the street, in tents, wherever they can. For instance, recently the government brought African asylum seekers into Canada, Toronto, yet there was no room in any shelters, and immense numbers of immigrants were seen camping in tents, homeless on Richmond Street. It's a tragedy because the government brought these people over and had no means to actually house them. Now you need to have resources in place if you're going to actually help people immediately. This is just a fact. And we need to have these resources in place. The shelter system is collapsing under the strain of increased homelessness and refugees. Fifthly, donate money to homeless shelters. Ask the government to build and create more shelters. Draw attention to this issue. It's vital, it's critical in Canada. Canada needs more shelters for the homeless and refugees. Ask your local shelters what you can donate to assist them, because they're being overwhelmed. Sixthly, volunteer at community organizations, food banks, shelters, and community outreach programs. Even if it's just once a month for 2 hours, it can be tremendously helpful, and it's needed. Fact is, homeless people, mentally ill people are still people and deserve equal access to basic human rights. They deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. Basic human rights are the right to life, liberty, personal security, a fair trial, freedom of conscience, freedom to join groups, and protection from unreasonable search and seizure. No one can live without access to food and water. This year, my 11-year-old son was attacked and assaulted on the TTC, on public transit. Not once, twice, by an adult, grown-up man with mental illness. These incidents were reported to the police. However, with insufficient lack of CCTV camera coverage in the area where the incident occurred on an escalator as he was going up the escalator out of the subway station, one of the assailants escaped scot-free, no repercussions. And the other assailant from a separate attack incident could not be charged due to mental illness, which is unfair to my child. In recent times, it can be noted that the TTC, public transit, has become a place with an increased propensity for violence to occur. Attacks, assaults are more frequent on the TTC than ever. They're on the rise, as well as the TTC has become a place for homeless and mentally ill people to loiter. CCTV cameras should be located everywhere for our safety and security. There are no security guards in any subway station or any help stations with actual persons in person there to help someone. When you need it, there are bars to press for help, alarms to pull, buttons to press. But what happens if you're not in the selected designated waiting area? If there's no CCTV cameras present to record what's happened to you, then you're out of luck, because you have to rely on an automated response at selected areas. Your safety is not a priority. Our American subway system counterparts have always had security guards in station, on trains, on buses. What you can do is contact the TTC. It's very easy. Google the contact information and ask them to put into place security guards to get CCTV cameras everywhere on the TTC platforms, everywhere where people can be publicly. When you're going upstairs, there should be a camera. Everywhere where any incident can happen. There should not be a corner left where people and criminals and accidents and violence is not. So please contact the TTC, as I have already, obviously because of the incident occurring to me, and I do not want this to happen to another child or another person, where a violent attack happens and they cannot help you or assist you in any way because there's no footage. When the assaults happened to my son, both times, no one offered to help him. A child being attacked by an adult man. No one called the police. No one witnessed. No one gave testimony. In spite of this happening in rush hour where lots of people were surrounding him. This is a grave issue of our society. People have become afraid to help others in need. There's significantly less good Samaritans out there, just a fact. The bystander effect has become a real calamity. The bystander effect is when a person witnessed someone attacked, an accident, car accident, someone on the floor, and walks on by without doing anything, perhaps thinking someone else has already done something. I am 100% certain, without a doubt, people witnessed this incident as it occurred after school with the high volume of passenger traffic on the TTC. The way to solve problems like this is if you witness, see a crime, an accident, car accident, something wrong happening to someone unconscious on the ground, please just call 911. You can remain anonymous on this call. Tell them you want to remain anonymous, and then just call. And if you can, ask the person if they need help. This is just basic stuff that you do as a human being. You can help, do something. The world needs more kindness, more caring individuals. If you don't help others, you just might end up being the next victim with no help given. Communication, kindness, caring are underrated forms of help. The world needs more love to compensate for all the negativity and fears that are happening. If my son can bravely still get on public transit after being assaulted twice and envision and believe there is still kindness in people, perhaps you can be the caring, kind, love person to make this a present and future possibility. I still believe in goodness for goodness sake, and that good triumphs over evil, that we can make Toronto a great city again for everyone. Let's build and create a world where there's less homelessness, less food scarcity, reduced mental illness, decrease gas prices and mortgage rates, and absolutely no violence. It all starts with you. One person can make a change just by believing you can and act accordingly. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a long haul, but I feel like these are things that need to be said now, because if nothing is going to be said, nothing is going to change. And I want to change the world for a better place for you, for me, our children, the future generations. Let's do it. Let's get this done. Good vibes.